Okay, I didn't think anybody want to watch me take tires off or just take brakes off. So I went on and took the brake parts off, got that brake line off across the top. I'm going to reuse the one that's on this other differential. It looks a whole lot better. I've already put the new wheel cylinders on. It is empty. I've got 2 liters of fluid for it, which is exactly what it calls for. I got the wheel cylinder on this one. I've got the drive shaft disconnected. It is 4 5/16 bolts. I hooked it up with plastic ties. I'm about to take these brakes off so I can get the emergency brake cable out of this backer plate. And then I've got the 4 U-bolts, the 2 shocks, and that 1 brake line on the top. And the 2, well, I can take those 2 off. No, I need to go ahead and get those disconnected. They're going over to the wheel cylinders too. And it'll be ready to come out. Okay, I went on and disconnected the brake lines because I'm going to reuse this one instead of the one that was on that replacement rear end. Those are 3/8. The block is 9/16. I'm going to leave those connected, and when I take the U-bolts out of the springs, I'll just have to be careful and make sure that that differential just drops, or that axle just drops right on down. These bolts are 1/2 inch. And I cut the strap that was holding the emergency cable to the axle. So the 2 shock bolts, I've already got the drive shaft bolts loose. They're 5/16. Those 2 shock bolts look like 3/4. I'll check them and see. And the 4 U-bolts, and it'll come out of there. I'm going to have a little brake fluid mess to clean up, but not too bad. Let's do this again. I want to make sure I get everything back right the way it is supposed to be. The front spring is on the outside hooked up. The back spring is on the inside hooked down. I guess I'm going to have to take them off to get to that emergency brake cable. Make sure I get these things back on there right. Okay, instead of fighting with those little expanding locks, I'm going to put this hose clamp over them, tighten it up, and see. All you got to do is get it started just a little bit and see if I can't push it right on through. So I've gotten most of this stuff squared away. I did want to let you know that the bolts holding that plate on there are 10 millimeter. I think I've given you other sizes on all the other bolts. So let's see if we can get the rest of this done. Got new springs for all of this. So, well, putting that around those little locks worked perfect. It slid right out. Well, I'm stopping for the evening, just about finished. Got to do the brakes and bleed them. And it is 8:15. I don't know what time I started this morning, but I took my time, went slow, had to go to Napa twice. They didn't have some of the parts, had to go back. I ordered them, had to go back and get them. I should have paid attention. The dope is 1 quart, takes 2 liters, so I've got to go back into the store and get a little more dope. I went on and put it in, and so won't get that core charge back until next week. But I'm going to check everything, make sure everything's tight in the morning. Put the brakes on, bleed them, and take it for a test drive. Okay, before we get back started this morning, I'm going to go back through this and tighten, make sure everything is tight. And I want to give you all the bolt sizes. I think I may have given you one wrong. We'll start off with the U-bolts. Those are 5/16. I have heard these bolts on the shackles and the shocks are 3/4, but you got to really tighten them down, and 3/4 was a little loose. I ended up using an 18 millimeter. Worked better. The bolts on that top plate for that, if you take that off and use yours, well, like I did, those are 10 millimeter. On the housing is 1/2 inch. Brake line is 3/8. Shoot, what was the wheel cylinder? I think it was 3/8. The block on that brake line is 9/16. And I think, is there anything else that I haven't given you on that? I think that's all. Now to get the brakes back on. I need to get some of these bumps. I need all 4 of them for this one and the Grand Cherokee. Again, this is a 8.25 Chrysler rear end. There's a junkyard gas tank. There's a junkyard rear end as well. And this one is a junkyard rear end. 99 with 131,000 miles. I'm going to run that VIN number over there to verify that. Okay, final rear end video. I didn't video the brakes. I got in a hurry and needed to finish, so I just skipped it videoing it. But when I put the wheel cylinders on, the new wheel cylinders, I noticed the bleeders looked a little different. On further inspection, checking them out, they're speed bleeders. I'd never heard of them. Anyway, you can bleed your brakes yourself and not need a second person with the speed bleeders. You can pump it down, just open it up just a little bit, not too much, just where it clears that little hole. You can pump it down and let the brake pedal back up, and it does not suck air back in. And so then you can pump it down again with the brake fluid going into a container, and you can bleed your brakes by yourself. And this is the old rear end that I took out, so that's not a new speed bleeder there. But anyway, that'll conclude this rear end video.